and welcome to Wise Women Wednesdays. My name is Jennifer Regular, and I am the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path and also host of the show, which, as you know, I love to do because I get to gather these speakers and messengers from all around the globe to share their story, their journey, and what they've learned from that to share with us so that we can embody who we came here to be and do what we came here to do by feeling the inspiration and empowerment, the tools and strategies that can support us in that. Today, my guest is Lisa Billingham. She is tuning in from Dudley, England, and Lisa writes books and reads people. She is a published author, a psychic medium, and is on a mission to help 1 million people make a positive change and live their best life. Yeah. After being diagnosed with stress, anxiety, depression, in 2011 and struggling to find a way through without prescription medication is where her journey began. She now delivers messages from spirit and is writing her 3rd novel. Today, I am here to welcome her as she discusses with us how to use mediumship to help you heal. Lisa, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here. What an interesting story and journey that you've been on here.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So your journey began really through your struggles of anxiety, depression, and then reading the messages from spirit. Is that something that came to you, you think, in your healing process? Or was that something that was always with you and you just gained more awareness of?
A bit of both, really. It's very strange because I only recognised it after I'd had a breakdown. And it was my friend who persuaded me forcefully to go and see a medium. And I've never looked back, really, because the information she gave me was spot on. It couldn't have been fed to her by anything. There was no way anybody that was in there, that was around, knew any of these things. It was my grandfather that she delivered the message from. And it wasn't until probably about 6 months ago when somebody asked me that very question. And I went, do you know what? When I was 16, 15, 16, something like that, I remember waking up in the night several times and I could just see friends' faces and, see things that were happening. And after speaking to them, it was happening to them at the time. And I'm like, well, you could have not done it at 2 o'clock in the morning, but because you woke me up. And it was just so bizarre. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. And there was nobody around me that I could actually ask. And had I paid more attention and maybe done a bit of digging and some research, then things might have turned out differently, but obviously they weren't meant to. So it wasn't until 2011 and having this reading myself. And I started to do more research and I started to look into it from all sorts of angles. And then I had a healing session not long after. So I started to research all that, did several different qualifications as well. But then I saw a poster on Facebook and it said, "Are you psychic?" And I'm like, oh, this is a bit bizarre. Why is this? And I'm like, no, don't, So I followed it up and I spoke to the lady and she said, "Oh, come along and we'll see and see what goes, see what happens." And I went and she made me go first. And I was like this. What am I doing? Why me? I can't go back. Speechless and all the rest of it. And she just she's just talking you through it and everything. And I read for a girl who actually, it was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I read for a girl who I'm now still friends with, very good friends with. And she's done this like pretty much all her life. She's an exceptionally good medium, although she doesn't practice. And she said, you were spot on. You got, and the lady who was running it said, "I knew you could do it." And I'm like, "I didn't, so why did you do that to me?" But it's like, nothing like being thrown in at the deep end. But that was where the journey started, I suppose, in that respect of that was the beginning of being on the, what I suppose you would call the right path, even though there was some twists and turns, like,
Sure.
you know, along the way. And finding, even now, I'm still working on myself and still working on listening to my guides for me, because I think, you know, I can deliver these messages, I can tell these, and then you sit going and, well, what advice would you give your best friend in this situation? Well, I'd say this and this and this. Well, why aren't you doing it then? So it's like, yeah, okay, I'll listen, and you sit there and think, okay, yeah. So, and I think it's always a journey. Spiritual, always, it always will be. But I find it very fascinating, and some of the things that come through. I think, what? Literally going, what?
Can't make this stuff up.
No, exactly. And it's like, does this make any sense to you? And I'm going, surely not. And they're going, oh, yeah. And like, oh, okay.
Yes.
That's
And
what
we
it's all
really
about.
learn that, don't we? That it's not us, it's spirit, and it's not about us, it's about them. And what you're able to bring through, and the gift of that, and just having the confidence and the courage to share it as you did, and then got the validation, and
that's it.
People say, yeah, okay, this is real. Something's happening here. There's a service that you can provide through being able to do this work and help others with the information they need or the guidance. And like you received, it was interesting, your friend, how she forcibly told you to go to this medium when you're having this breakdown.
Yeah.
Why do you think, what was it that made her think take you to a medium rather than a doctor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist? Why a medium?
She was very, very heavily into it. She'd been into it for a good many years. She lost her mother many, many years before, and other family members, obviously. And she'd been going, and she's like, why don't you try it? Why don't you try it? You've tried everything else. And to be fair, I'd pretty much I'd been, I never know the exact timeline, because my head was in such a state that, you know, I just don't know. I just can't remember without going to the doctors. And even then I think, well, really? But I'd been on antidepressants and I didn't stay on them long. I just said, I can't do this. They're making me feel worse. And it's like, oh, that's the way they work. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to do this. I want to find another way. And, you know, and she'd watched me, because she didn't work for the same business, but she worked in the same offices. So she watched me like slowly decline, and she tried prior to that, you know, what you're doing and think about this and that. But I just wasn't listening. And because she was so into it, there was obviously something there that she's like, you know, it'll help you. And I'm like, but I don't believe in it. I don't understand it. I don't, you know, this, that, and the other. And I had seen counsellors, not psychiatric, mental health nurse, counsellors, like the medication. I'd done a coaching qualification, all sorts of different things, and crystal therapies, and learning while I was healing, I suppose, in that respect. But she was pushing. She was like, why don't you just come to church with me? Just come, you know, do. And eventually, I think, just in some ways to shut her up, I just went, okay, surrender. But there was obviously something there. That was the message that I needed. And she was obviously there to deliver it. And up until the point where I went, I mean, we're still friends, but I don't speak to her now. I haven't spoken to her for age. I haven't seen her, you know, like, you know, things move on and your life takes a different path and whatever. But she was very much like, it will help you, you know, come with me and see. And it was a one-to-one sitting. It wasn't a group one, first of all. So, you know, it was just, you've got that undivided attention, if you like. And it just blew me away. I came out in floods of tears, and I'm like, it's supposed to be making me feel better. But the medium was upset as well. And I'm like, ooh, I don't think that was supposed to be. But yeah, she obviously knew something.
There was something. It sounds like there was something woken up, something activated within you with the insights and the messages that this medium was able to provide. And so is that what created or sparked the passion for you now in talking about how mediumship can heal your life?
It was. I think it was more as my journey progressed. And I started to understand more, and I started to channel more, and I started to get, better messages, because as time goes on, you improve everything that you do, you improve in, don't you? And I just thought, it's that being open, I suppose, and being receptive to it, because before then I was kind of a closed book, I suppose. It was like, no, I don't, I'm not listening to this, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing, and I'm terrible for like listening to other people and thinking, oh yeah, that'll work, oh yeah, that'll work, and then going, it's your fault. And then, over a period of time, you kind of go, well, actually, you have, the power to change your life is in your hands. But we all need help at some point in our journey with whatever it is. If you're struggling at work with a particular part of your job, you don't think twice about going, how do I do this? Or you shouldn't do. Why should that be any different when you're suffering with mental health, or you need help with something in that arena? You should never feel that you can't ask for that help. Right. And I think for me, it was very, it's very much like an unfolding a journey still, and probably always will be, that the more I learn and understand and connect, the more I can help other people. And I'd been sitting in a circle for a couple of years, actually, and I said to my friend, I said, it's going to be the mediumship that like pushes me forward. And I did all sorts of other things for like 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden it is starting to be the mediumship. But I always say, and I always ask, that Spirit deliver something for the recipient that will help them move forward. Because when I had my first readings, I've had many readings over the years, but I had the first one, and it was amazing, because the information she brought through. But at the end of it, I was thinking, well, what do I do now? Now, obviously, they can't tell you what to do, and I can't tell anybody what to do. I can only say what I can see or feel or hear or sense or whatever. But there's got to be something that they take from it, that they can go, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll try that. At least you just take that step, just take that one little step, and it doesn't matter whether it's the wrong one, but you've made that decision to do something. And sometimes that's you kind of stuck in that rut, and I've been there so many times, and it's just do something, and you get yourself out of that rut. Now, it might not be a wonderful journey, a wonderful path, and you get halfway down and you think, oh, this is a bit pants, let's change it. But it doesn't matter, because you can, you'll learn what you need to learn on that path, and then you move on to the next one, if that makes sense. So it's all an unfolding journey still.
Yes, it's true. And I noticed that as well. And like you say, our path's not linear, right? There's many pivots and twists and turns, and there's those defining moments that really change the whole course of our life. And like you say, once we gather the courage and recognize our power, inner power, to be able to make conscious choices, we can really set ourselves on our own path. But it's so nice when we're kind of in our blind spot, maybe you could say. And we meet someone who's able to see what we can't see, or pick up on things we may not be picking up on, and to be able to deliver that insight, the awareness, the messages through what they're experiencing, and mirror back to us what Spirit is trying to tell us and has been telling us all along, right? And then to be able to then follow the direction of soul. And it may not happen in that moment, maybe what the medium or the channeler or the psychic is saying in that moment. It's like, okay, yeah, thank you. But then you go on with your days or weeks even, or maybe even a month later, and you're like, and then something clicks. Something that they said clicks, and then it suddenly makes sense. There's integration and processing that happens, which is part of the healing process, right? Is coming into alignment, back into balance. And it can really support us. Like you say, there's messages that can support people, that light them up, that they need to hear, and sometimes really touches the soul or the heart that may not make sense to us, but makes sense to them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
opens up something for them, you know.
Yeah.
And you use the word connection. I know there's quite a few people that go to psychics and mediums wanting answers, wanting direction, and sometimes wanting to reconnect someone that they've lost and that they loved, and that are no longer on the physical plane, and aren't sure how to connect with them on other planes and in other ways that we know they can, but they may not have that vehicle to do that. So mediumship can really support that. And that too can support the healing, because there's something that may be unreconciled or that they need from the person who's passed on.
Exactly.
And so what do you find, Lisa, in your work? What are the reasons that people may come to you for mediumship or psychic support?
Sometimes it is just that. It is just that they want that connection. They want to feel that connection. And very often they'll come expecting a certain person, a certain family member, a certain friend, or, you know, anybody, even an animal, to come through. And they don't. It's somebody else. And it's very often, you know, that you could go to see hundreds of mediums and that person may never come through. Oh, I want to speak to my mum, I want to speak to my dad, I want to speak to sister, you know, and they may never ever come through. And I do say to a lot of my clients, just sit and talk to them. Just sit and talk to them. You don't need to do anything else. But a lot of people that I see, a lot of clients are stuck in that rut and are just looking for a little bit of guidance just to move them forward a little bit. Just because they're lost or they're struggling. Now, it may be mental health, and obviously with mental health you do need to be careful when you're having readings and things, because we can't, like I said, we can't tell you what to do. But it's just that even the message coming through, well, you know, I had one a few weeks ago, you know, you know full well that you deserve better than this. You know you have X, Y, and Z skills. Why aren't you using them? And, you know, there's the parts in that message that were that family member's voice almost. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's what he would have said to me. That's what they would have said to me. And it's that, yes, it's a comfort sometimes if they've never come through before, or, you know, something along those lines. And it can be just for that reason. And that's what a lot of people, I think, go and see mediums for. But then there's also the, some people like, I want to know if I'm going to win the lottery. Oh, come on. Really? But then it's, you know, am I on the right path? And sometimes I can literally see that path. I could see it clearly. But sometimes I can't. And sometimes that's just that there's so much going on that there is a lot of work that they need to do before the path becomes clear. And I've been in that situation for so many years myself. It's like, I can't see the path, I can't see the light, I can't see this. Well, yeah, just, you know, work through this. You need to work through this, and then we'll show you once. And it is that, literally that one step at a time, like lighting the stairway, just one step at a time. And it's that many of my clients are just seeking that guidance and wanting to know if they're on the right path. And sometimes it's like, well, I could see this, and they're like, oh, I'd never considered that. Well, you don't have to, but, you know, it may be worth thinking about. And then it goes off in a completely different tangent. And it is life-changing, all in a good way, because that's what, you know, that's the intention, that it is changing your life, but in a good way and in the way that is comfortable to you. That, yes, we've all got to step outside of our comfort zone, because that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely.
If we're aligned to doing that, and we're listening to spirit, and we're going, well, I don't want to do that, but I will. I'll try. You know, and all you can do is try. And it's those, you know, those things. If this message is coming to you and you go, you know, do X, Y, and Z, and you think, well, I've tried X, but I really didn't like that. Don't do it again then. You don't have to do it. You know, you don't have to. It's like, you've tried it, you know now. And I think a lot of it, especially with me, it was very much trial and error in that respect. It was, well, okay, then I'll try that. I mean, I did stay in the corporate world for 16 and a half years and shouldn't have done, but that's another story. But you do think, okay, I've tried that. I don't actually like that. Won't do it again. You know, snorkeling was one thing. And I was like, oh. And then somebody did say, well, try it again with another instructor. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll try it. So it's on my list of things to do. But then, you know, certain things I really didn't enjoy that and I don't want to repeat it. Then don't. At least you've tried. At least you've given it a go and you've learned something, because you would always be questioning, if you hadn't done it, what if? And a lot of the time that they always say that, don't they? You regret what you didn't do rather than what you did do. And I think that's life is so short, isn't it? You think, you know, live for the moment, but also, you know, don't be afraid to do these things, to try these things. Yes. Whatever that may be.
Yes, absolutely. And it sounds to me like there's an expansion that happens when you move beyond the comfort zone and really into your growth zone, because then you start
absolutely
growing and experiencing and evolving, and that opening creates expansion and more awareness of what you getting to know yourself more, what you do like and don't like. You don't know until you've tried it or had that experience. And then you can also help them. It sounds like you're tapping into your inner guidance of what would you like, you know, and looking into that and what would I like. And it sounds like through the relationship with you too, that you're restoring their confidence in themselves and their trust in the process of life. And maybe they've made choices before that didn't turn out the way that they hoped, and so they're afraid to now make new choices, new decisions, because, you know, of what the outcome might be. And being attached to an outcome can create a block. You know, you spoke about someone who wants to connect with a beloved loved one who's passed on, and goes through like many different psychics and mediums trying to explore that. And it's not the medium's fault that they're not connecting. It's actually a block that's created because of an attachment to an outcome. There's an expectation, which creates a block and resentment even, or, you know, a desperation almost. And it's understandable, of course, having compassion for where that's coming from, the need for that. But to be more open is where we're better able to receive the direction, the answers, the inner guidance, and so on that can come from that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so poignant you saying all that. So just spot on. Just spot on. It is that connection. It's that all-important connection, and releasing the outcome. It's so funny you saying that, because literally yesterday I shredded all my goals. I've worked with coaches over a number of years, and, you know, written down. I've got notes everywhere. The ones that they were lying on the floor actually in the bedroom, and I kept looking at them, and I'm like, And I walked up Snowdon in June, and I got halfway up and I was like, why am I doing this? And I spoke to a friend of mine when I came back, and I said, I didn't feel anything. I didn't, you know. He said, you know why? It's because you set it as a goal and a challenge to yourself. He said, instead of just going, I really want to walk up Snowdon and I'm going to do it, I'm going to enjoy it, you just went, I've got to do it, and this is how I'm going to feel. And it was exactly that. It was like, this is the outcome I'm expecting. And I'd visualized all this outcome. Nothing wrong with visualization, by the way. You need to have your dreams and your goals. And not necessarily goals, but you need to have your dreams. You need to have something that you are working towards. But it was the outcome that I'd kind of written in stone. It was actually written on this piece of paper as well, one of these pieces of paper. And I thought, this is weird. And I've spent days and weeks and months going through goals over the years, and there's probably loads of books elsewhere that I haven't seen, you know, I've hidden or put away. And the ones that were in this book on the floor, I just went, and kind of almost saying a ritual, like, you know, I'm not letting it all go. I'm not going, you know, I don't want any of this, and like my dreams are shattered or anything, nothing like that. It was just, I'm putting too much of a barrier there, too much of a boundary there myself, and going, well, this is what I'm expecting you to deliver, and this is what I want, and this, and you think, well, I can actually achieve far more than that. Do you know what I mean? And it's just
yes,
kind of,
absolutely.
don't belittle yourself almost.
Yeah.
Yes, setting your goals, and especially if you're that type of person, and you like, setting the Snowdon one was the first one, then setting something else like writing book 3 and things. Yes, you've got to set those little loose ones. Well, I want to finish that, and I want to do this, but opportunities come every day. And some of them will completely wipe out all your goals because it's completely on a totally different path.
Yes.
But you don't know until that opportunity actually arises. And you're like, well, actually, I wasn't planning on doing that, but you know what? I'll give it a go. See what happens. If I don't like it, I don't do it again. But if I do enjoy it, then that's the door, and that's the opportunity that you've actually probably blocked all that time by writing these goals down and going, right, that's the outcome I want. That's what I can see. That's what I still visualize. And I still think, oh yeah, I want this, that, and I can see this, and I can see that happening. I can see, but don't minimize what you can see, if that makes sense. And just,
yes,
be
absolutely,
open
it makes
to,
sense.
think bigger, dream even bigger than you have done. And it was literally only yesterday when I did that. How bizarre is that?
Shredded it. Yes.
just like that. I just went, I did a little, I did a little ritual with it, and not too much, and just thought, I'm almost holding myself back and holding myself to this, when actually I could probably do more than that.
Yes.
Not to scare myself. Not to scare myself, or put silly targets in place that are unachievable and whatever, because that defeats the object altogether. But yeah, it was quite strange, because I'd not thought about it. They were on the floor. I hadn't looked at them for ages, and I thought, I know what I'm going to do with that. I need to tidy up. How strange that we're just having that conversation.
I call it shooting on yourself. It should be this, or shouldn't be that, or I should do this and I shouldn't do that. And it's looking at the energy too, where that's coming from. When you're doing something, is it coming from passion? You love it and you really want to do it, or is it coming from obligation? I need to do this, I have to do this, I should to do this, I ought to do this. And you can hear where it's coming from in your language.
Absolutely.
What you're telling yourself about that, right? Because you can hear the words, whether you're shooting on yourself or it's something you really love to do that actually lights you up, that actually makes your heart sing. That's passion, right? And then that's the right path. Yeah.
That's it. Exactly.
That's the right path. And it doesn't create blocks. It creates opening. It creates expansion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Growth.
So speaking of connection, Lisa, how is it that people can connect with you in your work?
My website, and I've got a link tree that's got all my Facebook, Pinterest. Yeah, you go through all these social media platforms.
Yes. The whole list.
Pinterest, just most of them. Facebook, LinkedIn. I am on Goodreads as well as an author.
Yes, your books.
And Pinterest. I don't use Instagram so much now, or Twitter, although I am still on both of those, and there's obviously a lot of history on there if people want to check it out. But my website is lisambbillingham.com. And I'm actually, my business coach has told me to completely change it, so I'm doing that tomorrow.
Okay.
So in the next couple of days it'll be different.
Yes, and it's just let's being in that flow, right, of the changes as we evolve, of understanding what's important now, and not getting stuck on the way we thought things needed to be or do, because we're constantly evolving and changing, and as do everything outside of us as we do inside of us. And it's a very dynamic process. So your website, the link tree with all the social media links and so on, will all be in the show notes as well. So everyone can just click into that. Easy access there. It's been wonderful to hear about how mediumship can support the healing process and the journey. And speaking of it too, from your personal experience, Lisa, I so appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And really is there any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us today?
I think just trust yourself, like you touched on it earlier on. Just trust yourself and keep taking those steps forward. It doesn't matter how small those steps are. Just keep moving forward.
Yes.
And I'm very much, you hear it all the time, all these old sayings, don't you? But living in the moment and just trying to like shut out the past and the future. It's not easy to do, but just go for it, and don't restrict yourself. Dream big, dream very, very big. The bigger the better. If somebody said, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough, and I'm like, my dreams do scare me. I'm like, I'm on the right path then. But just trust yourself, trust in your journey, and trust in yourself.
Yes, trust yourself.
That's the key. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank each and every one of you who have been listening and watching us today on Wise Women Wednesdays. And if you like this video, then please share it or give us a like so that more people can be reached and hear these messages as well. And you may be providing a service through that. After all, it's who you are who makes a difference, and something to remember as you go on and learn to trust yourself. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Wise Women Wednesdays. Bye for now.